Welcome back to the third part of the Loud Go Quiet series. I know you guys have been eagerly awaiting the next part to the series, so here you guys go. I won't hold you guys up any longer than you have to. And if you want to get the jump ahead and receive early access videos, be sure to check out my membership page. There you will be able to see what early access videos you are able to see. Plus it helps tremendously. So thank you guys so much. Hello my lovely viewers. Looking for some affordable and good quality anime merch? Want to support your favorite Haikyuu team or join UA? What about joining the Straw Hat Pirates for an adventure or two? Want to join the Black Wolves or the Fairy Tail Guild? Well, this site has that and so much more. Use my discount code and receive 10% off your entire order. Link and code is in the description. Thank you so much for watching. I knew you were getting sluggish at the end of the match. Why the hell did you decide to even attempt the challenge when you were sick? Damn, Chibi-chan is really coming after Atsu. But he's right, it was a difficult match. Hell, Tetsu won't even let me out the house to run laps, so I probably won't do the challenge until tomorrow. No, trust me, that's fine. I don't want anyone pushing themselves and getting hurt during this. It's fine. Aaron has given me all the cuddles in the world, so it worked out in the end. Just for that, you go next. It wasn't good enough. He wasn't good enough. He'd been messaging the chat absent-mindedly, not really registering their conversation. The room was dark, absent of any light. Even the curtains concealed any sunlight that desired to share its warmth. Only the blue light luminescence, staring right back at his reflection. It was of their last match. After their recent match, Wakao had been placed on bed rest after the throb in his knee became too much for him to hide. With Iwazumi as a partner, it became impossible to hide anything these days. He recalled Sugawara coming in after the school day had ended and placed a cup of tea next to him, but it remained untouched and cold. This editor didn't know if the teacher had been speaking to him or not. He wasn't good enough. He kept dragging down the team. He needed to practice more. More. It wasn't enough. He needed to practice till he dropped, till his bones became nothing but dust, till every last drop of blood bleeds out, till his lungs refused to pump more air, till he couldn't move, till he was nothing but a stump in the ground. It wasn't enough. He would never be enough. Is he still in there? The exhausted teacher had left the house to pick up groceries that his darling Hajime had forgotten to grab when he was out and was vital for tonight's dinner. Still, with the long walk home, he'd taken the scenic route, pleasantly enjoying the crisp even air and even watched the family ducks cross the road. He stayed until they safely crossed and tore pieces of bread from his bag. He became delighted he bought the bread, even though it wasn't on the list. Even with all that time that's passed, Okawa was still locked up in the room. Unfortunately, this wasn't the first time. It happened a handful of times each season where the setter would get mentally strained to the point he shut himself out from the world, even his partners. Getting injured to the point he was bedridden for the next 2 weeks did not improve his state. Yeah, although I'm gonna drag him out here to eat. He's losing too much weight getting holed up in there. This was by far the worst Suga had ever seen his partner get. It's been 3 days since he last had a proper conversation with him. They'd leave meals next to him, only to come back and see it untouched, although sometimes there was some missing from his plate, giving in to his hunger. I'm getting worried. Is he even propping his leg up? Suga shook his head, recalling the brunette hunched over his laptop with his knees to his chest. He was definitely going to get a scolding from the trainer. That dumbass. Biting his lip, Sugawara glanced towards Iwazumi, who had his full attention to the pot on the stove, stirring the noodles he'd been cooking. I can feel you staring, Ko. What's on your mind? A small smile adorned his perfect face. Gods, how was he hopelessly infatuated with him? Even the scarring from blemishes during his younger days had faded over the years, when his skin became tanner from occasionally working outside. The Raven grew insecure about his appearance because of the texture on his skin, and he even explained his skin wasn't normal. Growing up, being compared to Aikawa, who had perfectly smooth and clear skin, it became a challenge to ignore all of the comments. Despite all of that, Suga loved him endlessly and even found the scars beautiful. He couldn't imagine the Raven without them. With Toru, you've known him longer, so personally this is the worst I've seen him like this, but I'm sure it's different with you. It is true it's been a very long time since it's gotten this bad, but I only recall one time where it was worse than this. The teacher jumped up on the counter and sat down, careful not to touch the stove when he leaned into his lover's touch. Daichi, who was sitting at the table, looked over, adoring the two. It was back in high school. Actually, I believe it was right before our match with you. He'd pull all-nighters at the gym when I wasn't aware of it, and he collapsed from exhaustion. I didn't hope that some of his fans back in the day often body-shamed him. Even when he was pushing himself, he ate very little, which resulted in his own undoing. Iwazumi bit his lips into a tight line, remembering the moment he ran out of the bed once he received the call. Instead of rushing out carelessly, he'd waken his mother up and they drove to the hospital. Even when Okawa had collapsed from exhaustion, he was awake once he'd arrived to his room. Once he got there, Iwazumi was convinced he walked into the wrong room because the boy sitting in the bed wasn't the same person he came to love. He was a shell of what he once was. His eyes held no sparkle like it once did, nor did he jump out of bed to greet him like he normally did. There was no goofy Iwa-chan, and for once, he sobbed, begging for that careless, annoyingly beautiful person back. It took a long time to find that boy again. After receiving treatment for his knee and a therapy for all the bullying that led him to that point, he was okay. Sort of. No matter how much time went on, there would always be deep scars buried within. Iwazumi shuddered at the image of Akawa sitting in the hospital away. He couldn't let that happen again. Luckily, it doesn't seem as bad as last time. So I think the best thing we can do is be there for him when he tires himself out from staring at the screen for too long. That and make sure he eats properly. Yeah, one of us might need to actually feed him tonight. Iwazumi laughed, enjoying the idea of shoving spoonfuls of soup in Okawa's mouth, all while making sure he keeps his leg up in the proper position so the swelling would lessen. Well, I don't think... The small conversation ended as soon as a thud sounded from the hall and silence followed. It was so deafening that if a pin were to fall, it would surely shatter their eardrums. Suga sucked in a deep breath, taking the first step to the hall, and cursed once he saw Aikawa on the floor, trying to push himself up with his arms. Daichi was right on his heels and ran over to assess the situation. Turning off the stove, Iwazumi ran over and pulled the brunette's pants up, seeing their joints inflamed and discolored in vibrant purples and blues. Have you taken your medication? No. Does it hurt? Iwazumi was frustrated. It was written all over his face, but while examining the injury, his brow furrowed in concentration. The setter mumbled something incoherently, hiding his face with his hands. Huh? Sweetie, can you speak a little louder? Oikawa swung his hand out, and with Izumi close in range, the back of his hand connected with his jaw. I said I don't need your help! Sugawara gasped, running to his lover's side, noticing the prominent trickle of blood on his jawbone. The ring Oikawa's sister had given him had a small citrine jewel and nicked him. Toru! Accusingly shouting at the setter, Sugawara passed a towel to the small cut to stop the bleeding. I don't need you. Any of you. I can do this on my own. With a snarl, Oikawa tried getting up, but failed when his knee gave out again. He screamed in frustration. He was completely and utterly useless. You don't mean that. I do. He would get past this obstacle, just as he had every other time. Alone. He just needed to work harder. Sugawara made an attempt to grab his hand, but the latter snapped in return. Don't touch me. I never needed any of you. The teacher tried to hide the quiver in his lip, but failed when the first tear slipped past his waterline. Take it back. What? I said take it back. He sobbed into his hands, not sure where all the hatred had came from, but he didn't like it. Not one bit. We've done nothing but endlessly care and worry about you. I never asked for that. You didn't have to. Oikawa's eyes widened, as if he finally took in the extent of the damage he'd done. The teacher bit his lip, digging his nails into the palm of his hands, leaving crescent imprints behind. You never have to ask. Because even if you hate us, we will always care and worry about you. So don't you fucking dare say you don't need us when you were screaming for help. His pale skin had reddened from his outburst. Daichi swooped in, holding Oikawa tightly in his arms, ignoring the small fits of struggle before he ultimately gave up. You've been hurting all this time, haven't you? You say you don't need us, but we've been ignorant, not knowing just how much you did need us. You're wrong. Oikawa glanced at Iwazumi over Daichi's shoulder, who refused to let go. The trainer had tears in his eyes. The towel that was tainted red lay forgotten on the ground. The wound on his jaw dripped down his neck. He did that. He hurt the one he swore he'd never hurt. It was all his fault. Yes, it's okay to stay strong and play that role. It's what I've always liked about you. You've inspired me to be better because of that. You're too stubborn to convince otherwise. So it wasn't enough. He needed to get stronger and prove that he could still be looked up to. He needed... Even still, it's okay to lean on us every once in a while. You don't have to bottle it all in like you've done since the beginning. The shorter crawled over on his knees and ran his fingers through Oikawa's matted locks after spending days in their office with no showering. He pressed his forehead against the setter, who still looked bewildered. Lean on us, Toru. We won't chase you away. We won't call you weak. We will support you. Please, don't feel like you have to do this alone. We are with you until the end. Oikawa clawed into Daichi's skin and wailed like he never had before. He spent his life convinced he'd never live up to anything, and that no matter how hard he worked, he would get nothing in return. He wanted to turn the tables and prove them wrong, but that only resulted in his own misery. If only he'd done better. If only he'd tried harder. If If only he trusted his partners more, maybe it could have prevented all of this. He was breaking, but the dam that shattered, releasing the tidal wave of emotions, relief quickly followed. He was free from his own mind. And there. The setter stuck his tongue out in concentration, placing a band-aid with hearts and stars on his jaw. DaiSugaIwaOi had been insistent on getting bandages that the kids would love, and ever since, it became all that they carried. For more serious injuries, Iwazumi usually had rolls of gauze on hand, but this wasn't anything too serious. The raven smiled, pressing a kiss on the brunette's cheek. Feels much better. And don't you think about saying sorry. It's okay, I understand. He laughed submissively, hiding his smile with his hands. Hey now, don't cover that pretty smile. Don't forget that gorgeous laugh. DaiSugaIwaOi dramatically threw himself into Daichi's arms, swooning. The act made him laugh louder than before. This was good. The setter was finally smiling again, acting himself. That's all they ever wanted. Come on, I sound like a strangled dying animal. That won't do. That's just weird. What'll be weird? He shrugged, swinging his arm underneath Suga's knees and hoisted them into the air, earning a yelp from the smaller, and walked to the table. Sitting down, he placed the teacher in his lap and leaned closer to the blushing brunette. When someone asks me what my favorite sound is, I'll have to describe it like that. Suga gasped, slapping the officer's shoulder. Sawamura, Daichi! You are such a player! What? Ow! Okay. You gotta admit that was good. Not made you sound like an idiot. Looking over, Akawa could see Iwazumi smile from ear to ear. It was just as adorable as it was charming. It wasn't just the smile that made him melt, but the way his eyes disappeared when he was truly smiling and resembled the rising sun. The light to his darkness. He snuggled further into Hajime's side, still feeling guilty for hurting him. Todo, what's wrong? Nothing. I'm just happy. For the first time in his life, it wasn't a lie. Okay, sorry. That ending made me cheese like an idiot, and I hope it did the same to you guys. I sincerely hope that you guys enjoyed this, and it was worth the wait. So the next part to the series is going to be strictly fluff. Let's see if I can do that. I would like to give a special thanks to Ferret, Anya, Wanda Morris, Haley Cosme, and Nana for joining my membership. This helps so much, you don't even know, so thank you guys so much. It makes it significantly easier to make content. And alright, I will see you guys next week.